A week ago, I had the incredible opportunity to get to preview Universal Epic Universe as a part of the annual Passholder preview event. During my time at the park, I got to experience a lot of what Epic Universe has to offer, including getting on 10 of the park's 11 rides. Sorry, Fire Drill, I'll ride you in the summer. Like so many of you, I had so many attractions that I wanted to experience throughout my day at Epic Universe, with some of the priorities being Monsters Unchained, Harry Potter and the Battle with the Ministry, Stardust Racers, and Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. Now, obviously, I wanted to ride every single ride in the park, but there were some rides for me that took priority over others just because of the anticipation I had for them. But there was one ride that exceeded my expectations so much that it has now become my favorite roller coaster that I have ever ridden in my entire life. And that is Hiccup's Wing Gliders. If you don't know, Hiccup's Wing Gliders is a family multi-launched coaster that takes guests throughout the entirety of How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk. The coaster takes guests on a nice flight over Berk that, of course, goes wrong. So today, on Theme Park Passion, I want to talk about Hiccup's Wing Gliders and why this is my new favorite roller coaster of all time. So let's get this party started. Similar to my video for Harry Potter and the Battle with the Ministry, the first half of this video will be spoiler free, while the second half of this video will go into the spoiler territory for this attraction. Please keep in mind that ride POVs are currently not authorized for this attraction to my knowledge as of when I visited the park, so I will not be featuring any on-ride POVs for the attraction in this video. So I know that many people are probably asking, why is Hiccup's Wing Gliders your number one coaster not only in just Epic Universe but of all time? How could this family coaster beat out the likes of Stardust Racers, Velocicoaster, or Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind? Well, the answer to me is the emotion. Just like the How to Train Your Dragon movies, Hiccup's Wing Gliders is filled with so much heart, humor, and emotion throughout the entire ride experience. This ride honestly rocked me to my core, specifically at the very end of it, where something happens that left me in awe and left me about to cry. I'm not going to tell you what that was in this section of the video, but I will be talking about that a little bit in the spoiler section of the video because it is a ride spoiler. For me, Hiccup's Wing Gliders felt like a more intense version of Slinky Dog Dash, but not as intense as something like Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. If we're comparing the four coasters in Epic Universe, I have to say that Hiccup's Wing Gliders was definitely the smoothest of those four coasters. As the name implies, Hiccup's Wing Gliders literally glides through the track. The coaster is just so much fun. It has some of the most fun elements that I've seen on a family coaster. There's a decent amount of airtime, and it hits a really good speed for this kind of coaster. The ride length was honestly perfect. I wasn't feeling like it was too short, and I feel like that at times a coaster can feel a little bit too long, but this one just felt like the absolute perfect ride duration to be able to tell this story that they were trying to tell in its absolute entirety. I feel like that it was a home run in terms of ride length. This coaster truly interacts with the entirety of the Isle of Berk in a way that I haven't really seen with a Universal coaster before. Whether it be that it swoops right above your head as you're walking on a path, or it goes underneath a bridge that you're walking under as it causes a huge splash in the lagoon. There are so many kinetic elements in How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk that make it feel alive, and this is one of my favorite one of those kinetic elements. So I got to ride the coaster twice, one time at day and one time at night. Right now, I can't really decide which time I enjoyed it more because my first experience was, of course, during the daytime, and I was just an emotional mess during that ride through, so I feel like that will always be my favorite ride through on it, so I do need to rewrite it at day and at night to really figure out which version is better, but if you can, I would recommend riding it at both times because How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk really comes to life during nighttime, where you can see all of these lanterns and just all of this like natural looking light around the entire land. It's just incredible in person to see. Overall, before we wrap up the non-spoiler section of this video, I just want to quickly go over everything that I said before. This ride is so much fun. It is the perfect family coaster. It combines thrills but also being extremely accessible to a wide target demographic that almost anybody can experience this coaster and have fun together as a family. I don't really think that I've had this much fun on a coaster before. I don't know if it's the elements, the scenery around you, the story, or just everything combined to create one experience, but it truly is a special and unique experience that you can't find anywhere else in the world. So, before I leave those of you who want to stay spoiler free off on your way, make sure that you ride this coaster. I know a lot of people are kind of overlooking it right now, but please go and ride this roller coaster. It will really make your day. It made my day. I got off of this ride with a huge smile on my face. And yeah, thank you all for tuning into the non spoiler part, but now we're going to go and move into the spoiler part. So the entrance to Hiccup Swing Gliders is towards the back of the land. You have to walk around some of the main pathways to get to it. So you're for sure going to see the coaster zooming past you at least once on your way to it. And you enter through what appears to be either Hiccup's house or his workshop. When you go inside, you can see some really fun props in there that kind of show his inventions and contraptions over the years. And it gives a lot of backstory for what the ride is going to entail. The majority of the queue is outdoors before you head to a covered loading area. Hiccup Swing Gliders features a dual load station, so the capacity is pretty high for it. But so now I want to talk about the ride experience itself. So the ride itself is kind of comprised in a 3-act structure. So the first act is of it starting up and things being very calm. The second act is when things go wrong, and the third act is the resolution. Usually, coasters don't feature 3-act structures. They're more about getting a thrill in and enjoying some fun elements and a fun layout. But Hiccup Swing Gliders has a 3-act structure, and it utilizes that 3-act structure to tell such a great story in such a short time constraint. So in the load station, there's a giant banner that is in story hand painted, and it shows what's going to be happening to us on the ride. So it shows our ride vehicle, and it shows this giant winged contraption on top of it. So for me, when I saw that, I was like, okay, so this is kind of like the preview for what's going to be happening to us on the ride if all goes according to plan. But of course, I didn't see any ride vehicle with those giant wing contraptions over them, so I knew that something was going to go wrong. Right out of the unload station, the song Test Flight from the movie starts playing, and you head on a very short coaster section while Hiccup starts talking to you and he tells you to meet him over at where he's going to put the wings on. Then there are 2 animatronic figures in this show scene, one of which is Hiccup and the other is Toothless. If you're sitting towards the front of the train, you'll be closer to the Toothless animated figure, and if you're sitting towards the back of the train, you'll be closer to the Hiccup animated figure. Both times, I was actually put into the back row for the coaster, so I was right next to that Hiccup animated figure, who is sort of spinning this giant crank to bring the giant wing contraption down. The Toothless animated figure in here is absolutely adorable. He's super fluid and he pushes this big button with his paw that sends your ride vehicle launching out of this room before Hiccup can install the winged contraption. And so this is the second act of the coaster, which is where everything's going wrong. You have onboard audio that has some big dramatic music and Hiccup completely freaking out over the audio system. It's a lot of fun in this portion of the ride. You are really maneuvering around and going through twists and turns in a very non-normal manner, in the sense that you are completely out of control. Then at the end of the second act, we land in a Gronkle nest, which sends Hiccup freaking out because he says that Gronkle nests are known to hatch in this exact weather condition and at this exact time of the year. The issue is that Gronkle nests are known to explode when they hatch. So you then go on the second launch of the coaster, which is when you finally get control over the ride vehicle, and is when I got very emotional on my first time of the ride. I'm going to talk about a fairly big spoiler right here, so I would highly, highly, highly recommend skipping over to this timestamp that I'm showing on the screen right now if you don't want to know what happens that made me so emotional. I don't think it's going to make everybody emotional, but it did hit me really hard, this one specific part. So I'm going to talk about that, but just skip over it if you don't want to know. I'd recommend that if you just haven't ridden it to just skip over it. But if you really want to know, you can still watch, of course. So, as I mentioned earlier in the video, at the very beginning of the ride, you get the opening notes of Test Flight playing in the onboard audio. But you don't get to hear it again until this part of the ride. Now, instead of it being the opening notes of the song, you go into the big orchestrated section of it, which is when, in the first movie, Hiccup and Toothless are flying together. And hearing this song on the last couple of hills on this coaster, as Hiccup saying, "You finally got it, let's go," it hit me way harder than I thought it would, because this is a very emotional song. While at this point on the coaster, it felt very dreamlike as you're going over these last hills, and it hit me that I was finally in Epic Universe. I've been kind of associating this song with this park for years now, so hearing it on the coaster just made me so emotional, and thinking about it right now, I'm actually tearing up right now. So, yeah, it is so magical in person doing this coaster, doing this scene. I'm very unscripted right now, as you can probably tell. Um, Again, it's such a small little feature of the ride, but having it here just hit me in a way that I would have never expected to be hit by in anything in the park. This was the moment that I got the most emotional, because it finally hit me hearing this big iconic song from the movie that I had finally made it to Epic Universe. But now, let's bring our people who didn't want to hear about the part that almost made me cry on the ride, but made me start to cry talking about it. Yay! So welcome back to those who didn't want to hear about that one part. But overall, though, because we're kind of closing up now, that was the third act, though, which is, when you finally get to get out of the Gronkle nest, which takes you over to the last couple of hills of the coaster. Then you head back to the load/unload station, and you get out of this coaster, and you're just amazed by it. I was an emotional mess getting off of it. It was the best coaster I've ever done, and it was my fourth ride of the day, and at this point, I hadn't ridden Monsters Unchained, I hadn't ridden Stardust Racers, I hadn't ridden Battle at the Ministry, I hadn't ridden Mario Kart yet, and I expected all of those to be better than this, in my opinion, but the only one that I placed above this ride was Battle at the Ministry. All of the other ones, I enjoyed Hiccups more than it, which is crazy to think of, that the How to Train Your Dragon Family Coaster is my second favorite ride in the entire theme park and is my new favorite roller coaster of all time. I didn't expect it to happen at all. I did not expect for Hiccup Swing Gliders to be my new favorite coaster ever. I kind of expected Stardust to. If any of the coasters in this park were going to be my new favorite, I expected it to be Stardust and not Hiccup Swing Gliders, but dang, Hiccup Swing Gliders hit me in a way that I've never been hit by in a coaster in my entire life. It perfectly captures the charm and the emotion of the How to Train Your Dragon movies, and gives you that experience in real life in a way that, I didn't think was going to happen, but somehow did happen on this coaster. And so, again, rethinking of this moment and reliving the memories that I made when I visited Epic Universe just has made me so grateful of my experience that I got to have there, and so grateful that I got to experience this coaster. I'm so happy that we have this place finally open to us. It's not technically open yet, but It's in previews now, which is incredible. And again, just thinking about the fact that Epic Universe is a real place now is just hitting me way harder than I thought it was going to. And I feel like that for me, this ride was where it finally hit me. It, of course, so I was lucky enough to get to stay at the Helios Grand Hotel. And I thought that, walking out onto the terrace at Helios was where it was going to really hit me. And it did. I got a little bit emotional seeing it there. But it just hadn't really clicked yet that I was in Epic Universe. And when it finally hit me was on this coaster, and that's just when it was over for me. That's just when, you know, that was when it was over, and I knew that I was here, and the wait was finally over, and that Epic Universe was a real place at this point, and yeah, sorry for the ramblings. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below letting me know if you've ridden Hiccup's Wing Gliders. What did you think of it? Did you get as emotional as me thinking about this coaster? I'm not sure how many other people got very emotional on this coaster. I don't think I'm the only one, because I have a feeling that other people probably felt the same way about it. But yeah, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody who was working so hard on Epic Universe, might still be working on it. I'm not sure how it's going right now, because they're in previews, so I don't know if they're still working on it, but if you are still working on it, or if you have finished working on it, you know what I mean. Huge thank you to everybody who made Epic Universe possible. It's pretty much what I was trying to say there. I just couldn't figure out how to properly phrase it, because I don't know if they're done yet or if they're still working. You know what I mean. Anyways, this is very unscripted, as you can tell. But thank you all so much for watching this video. Thank you to everyone who worked so hard on Epic Universe. This place is amazing. And with that, I will see you all real soon. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.